By the time you reach 60, life has already shaped you in ways that make you wiser, stronger, and far more aware of what truly matters. This is often the season when women begin rediscovering themselves beyond the roles they once carried so heavily, beyond being a wife, a mother, or the one everyone depended on. It becomes a time for personal awakening. You begin exploring new ideas, seeking deeper meaning, healing old wounds, and opening yourself to growth in ways you may never have allowed before. But sometimes a relationship can quietly interrupt that process. The wrong man will not always stop your growth openly. Often it happens in subtle ways. He may dismiss your interests, roll his eyes at your self-discovery, or make small comments that cause you to question what excites and inspires you. Over time, you may find yourself shrinking your ambitions just to keep him comfortable. I once knew a woman named Claire who had finally started living for herself after decades of putting everyone else first. She was traveling, reading deeply, and reconnecting with parts of herself she had ignored for years. Then she met someone. At first it felt exciting, but slowly she noticed she was saying no to the things that once brought her alive because he found them unnecessary or too much. One evening she admitted, "I feel like I'm becoming smaller again." That is the danger. A relationship should never require you to trade your becoming for someone else's comfort. At this stage of life, your soul should be stretching toward everything it was meant to experience, not folding itself down to fit inside someone else's limitations. So ask yourself this: is this relationship helping you become more of who you are, or is it asking you to become less? The right word is expansion. But this is where so many relationships quietly begin to fracture. Your growth challenges his comfort. I once knew a woman who left a long marriage and for the first time in decades felt truly free. She joined a book club, started therapy, explored old wounds she had buried for years, and began asking herself the deeper questions she had ignored for most of her life. Then she met someone. At first, he admired her independence. He loved her curiosity, her honesty, her energy. But as she grew more self-aware and more authentic, his attitude began to change. One day he said to her, "You used to be so easygoing. Now you analyze everything." What he really meant was this: he did not want her evolving. He wanted the earlier version of her, the one who was easier to predict, easier to manage, easier to keep. And that is what often happens. When you take on a relationship with someone emotionally unevolved, you begin editing yourself without even realizing it. You stop sharing what you are learning. You skip the workshops that excite you. You avoid conversations that matter to your soul because they make him uncomfortable. Little by little, you place your own becoming on pause. And that is a quiet tragedy. A woman standing on the edge of transformation, choosing familiarity over freedom. Ask yourself this: if I never entered another romantic relationship, how much could I still become? That is a powerful question. Now let us talk about something even more practical: the cost. By this stage of life, you already understand that nothing comes without a price. You have spent years investing your time, your money, your energy, your care into children, marriages, careers, family obligations, and responsibilities that often left very little for yourself. You know what it means to pay dearly, and yet many women underestimate the true cost of keeping the wrong man in their lives. At first, the expense seems small: a few dinners out, small gifts, rearranging your schedule to fit his, staying awake late because he wants to talk, eating when your body needs rest, traveling when what you really need is peace and recovery. Then the bigger compromises appear. He needs to stay with you just temporarily. His finances are complicated. He promises he is figuring things out. Years later, he is still there, comfortable, dependent, and contributing very little, while your peace slowly disappears. I once heard a woman say, "He moved in while he was looking for a place." That was 5 years ago. He still hasn't left, and I feel guilty asking him to. That is not love. That is quiet exploitation wrapped in sympathy. You did not spend decades building your life, only to become the unpaid provider of someone else's comfort. And the cost is not just financial, it is emotional. Your energy is precious now. Every day carries value. When you pour yourself into someone who cannot meet you emotionally, you feel depleted in ways that have nothing to do with age. You wake up exhausted, not because you are older, but because your spirit is carrying unnecessary weight. Your peace of mind is your greatest wealth. Anything you allow into your life should protect it, not drain it. And finally, here is the deepest truth of all. You deserve sacred love, not leftover attention. Some men pursue older women not because they value their wisdom or depth, but because they assume they will tolerate more and expect less. They believe loneliness will make you flexible. They assume fear will lower your standards. And society has fed women this lie for generations, that after a certain age, you should simply feel grateful that anyone still wants you. That is false, completely false. If you accept inconsistent affection because you fear being alone, you teach yourself that your own company is not enough. You begin measuring your worth by whether someone chooses you. And every time he disappoints you, but you stay, that wound deepens. You start mistaking scraps for nourishment. A text message here, a compliment there, a visit when it is convenient for him. You call it connection because admitting the emptiness feels too painful. I knew a woman who stayed with a man for years, even though he openly told her, "I'm never committing to anything serious." Still, she hoped. One day she confessed, "He doesn't treat me well, but I'm afraid if I leave, I'll be alone forever." And I asked her something she had never considered. What if this chapter of your life is not about being chosen by a man? What if it is about finally choosing yourself? She sat in silence for a long moment, then whispered, "No one has ever said that to me before." That moment changed her life, and perhaps it changes yours too. Because the real question is not, should I have a boyfriend? The real question is, what is the highest form of love available to me now? Sometimes that love looks like deep friendships. Sometimes it looks like peace and independence. Sometimes it looks like spiritual growth and freedom. And yes, sometimes it may look like a mature, loving partner who adds calm instead of chaos. But if that person never comes, you are still complete, still worthy, still deeply lovable, exactly as you are. So sit quietly and ask yourself, if I loved myself the way I have always wanted someone else to love me, what would I stop tolerating today? Would you stop waiting for texts that never come? Stop making excuses for behavior that hurts you? Stop sacrificing your peace just to avoid being alone? You are not here to fill someone else's emptiness. You are here to live fully, honestly, and peacefully. You have already given enough. From this moment forward, let any man in your life be a blessing, not a necessity. And if no one arrives, your life is still whole, because you were never incomplete to begin with.